So, Mr. J, why did you vote for Donald Trump?
Because I think Trump is going to exacerbate and accelerate the downfall of America.
Oh, okay. So, would you voted for Hitler since he did the same thing for essentially all of Europe?
Would I vote for Hitler? No. Do I think that people would reach a turning point? Yes. And I definitely regret that because I don't feel as though Americans have the backbone to actually reach a turning point.
Okay, I don't even know what that means. So you vote for the candidate that you think will generate the worst outcomes. Why?
I think that people are afraid to mobilize. I mean, Ka- Kamala,
Kamala.
Kamala, um, is like anti-Palestine, and like,
So are you.
am I?
Yeah, because you voted for the guy that wants to personally own claim ownership of the Gaza Strip falsely and ethnically cleanse 2.1 million people. You're actually more pro-Israel than Kamala Harris is. You are definitely 110%.
Um, I would say that I this is more of an accelerationist argument.
Okay, so you're just
And
describing that you have intentions that don't lead to the death of, sorry, or the ethnic cleansing of 2 million Palestinians? Well, you're wrong because they do. Yeah, because any way you want to word it, a result of your vote for Trump is the ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip because that's what he wants. Yeah, you're more pro-Israel than Kamala Harris.
so, do you think that Kamala Harris would have prevented the ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip?
I think that she wouldn't have had the same plan of Trump that Trump does to personally go and annex, occupy, and remove all of the Palestinians from the Gaza Strip and rebuild
Right.
Riviera
I
for
mean,
Netanyahu.
Kamala wouldn't have
But
had
why
the
why are we
plan
why are we
to.
having this debate? Do you like call yourself pro-Palestine? Do you think that you care about the Palestinian people?
Yes, I think I
So you
do.
vote for you vote for like the worst of two evils. You
Did you
vote.
vote for Kamala?
Yeah, I did. I voted for the lesser of two
Okay, so
evils. Why
you
did you
also
vote for the?
voted for the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people.
I voted for the lesser of two evils. You voted for the worst of two evils.
Okay, Trump wants to turn it into real estate. Kamala wanted to let Israel go in and kill everyone and take it over.
So
Tell me,
let's look at the
what is
difference.
the
Let's look
difference
at.
for Gazans in that situation?
I'll absolutely tell you the difference for Palestine under Kamala Harris presidency compared to a Trump presidency. Kamala Harris wanted to send funding to Israel. Kamala Harris wanted to give some humanitarian support to Palestine. Kamala Harris put some restrictions on some weapon shipments, such as 3,000-pound bombs. Donald Trump, on the other hand, says that we need to give Israel everything that they could ever possibly need to finish the job they started, supports no humanitarian aid to Palestine whatsoever, wants to deport pro Palestinian protesters from America, and personally wants to go and occupy and own the Gaza Strip and forcefully relocate over 2 million people to elsewhere. So it is the case that Donald Trump is significantly worse for Palestine. And let me guess, you're not going to respond to the individual points I just gave you because if you do, it'll either lead to a concession or pure hypocrisy and an avoidance of logic and fact.
No, I mean, I could respond to the individual points, but I think the overarching argument that you're ignoring is that either way, Palestine would be ethnically cleansed. Whether Kamala says, oh, she wants to provide humanitarian aid, she's not going to stop weapon shipments to Israel. She's not going to stop supporting Israel because that is.
Yeah, so that wasn't my argument. I just think that you're either thinking about things too densely, too binary, or you don't possess the ability to abstractly and critically think about an issue. I'm not denying that Kamala Harris had pro-Israel policy. I'm just merely affirming that Donald Trump was more pro-Israel than Kamala Harris, and a Trump presidency would lead to worse conditions for the Palestinians compared to a Harris presidency, and that's an undeniable, uncontestable fact. All right, and but you don't want to like engage in that level of critical thought. Like I mean, trust me, I've talked to a lot of people that come up here saying that they voted for Trump because Kamala Harris was pro-Israel, and ultimately, what you lack that I have is the ability to critically think about a comparative analysis to determine which of the two candidates was the lesser of two evils, and you rather ignore that and you just say, well, Kamala Harris at the end of the day was not pro-Palestinian, therefore somehow voting for Trump was justified, and you just kind of like are willfully ignorant to the nuances of the discussion.
No, I mean, I think that the comparative analysis here is that, like, you not being in the situation of Gazans, like, Kamala Harris would have been a better president for you. Kamala Harris would have been a better president for the average American. But at the end of the day, it was not going to stop the ethnic cleansing of Gaza. It was not going to stop U.S. imperialism. And
You see, there you
something
go.
that
You're
Trump
just going.
does.
You're going right back. You're going right back to that black and white statement that at the end of the day, it was not going to stop harm being committed upon Palestinians. However, it was less harm compared to Donald Trump. So I actually think it's funny that you're proposing this critique that Kamala Harris would have been better for me, and I just forget or don't acknowledge or value the hardships experienced by Palestinians. But it is for that reason that I voted for Kamala Harris, because I think it is you that does not value the additional hardship and ethnic cleansing and death that Palestinians will undergo given a Trump presidency compared to a Harris presidency. And keep in mind, this is my fifth time reaffirming this fact, and this will be your sixth time responding by saying, well, at the end of the day, she was still pro Israel, ignoring the nuance for a sixth time, like a broken record.
Okay, sorry. I guess to be clear, in a genocide, there is no nuance. In a genocide,
Yeah,
it is an ethnic cleansing.
absolutely there's
Everyone
nuance.
dies.
Absolutely
So
there's nuance. I'm so
you
sorry.
could
If you
be
want to
like,
ignore
"Oh,
the
I give
nuance,
slaves bread,"
if you want
or
to
"I
ignore,
don't give slaves bread."
if you want to
Either
ignore,
way, they're still slaves, right?
if you want to ignore the nuance that Donald Trump will lead to more Palestinians dying, more Palestinians being killed, more Palestinians living in worse conditions, and you just want to
Genocide
view,
means everyone dies.
so you
That's what
think,
that
so
means.
you don't think that there's any Palestinians living on the Gaza Strip?
Yes, there are Palestinians living in the
So then you
Gaza
don't think
Strip.
that
Are you
Israel's
telling
been
me
committing a
that Kamala
genocide?
Harris was going to prevent the
Wait,
genocide?
Jay, answer my question. So then you don't think there's a genocide because not everyone has died?
I think there is an ongoing genocide.
Wait, but you just said that a
Genocide leads
genocide is
to
where everyone
everyone dying.
dies.
Genocide does mean everyone dies. So whether
So
it's
then you don't
slowly or
think that they've
whether it's with
genocided.
humanitarian aid,
So
it
you don't
doesn't
think
make
that
a
they've genocided
difference.
Palestinian
Everyone's going to
individuals
die.
already.
Say that again?
So I just want to clarify. So you think that no humanitarian aid to Palestinians and personally going into the Gaza Strip and kicking 2 million people off of the Gaza Strip is synonymous to some humanitarian aid to Palestinians and not personally ethnically cleansing the Gaza Strip, right? So a restriction on 3,000-pound bombs, right, and preventing those from being in the hands of the IDF is synonymous to no restrictions on any bombs, under your view, right? Those two things are identical.
If both end in the complete ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip, yes, those two things are identical.
Okay, so you're just arguing that there would be no difference between the material impact upon Palestinians under a Harris presidency compared to a Trump policy, under a Trump presidency?
Not only that, but my larger point, which I was making, is that U.S. imperialism under Trump is actually worse. It
So
doesn't function as
I just
well.
want to clarify that like right now, if Kamala Harris was elected, we'd still have all 2.1 million Palestinians on the Gaza Strip being forcefully relocated to Jordan and Egypt by the American government.
Under Kamala Harris, she would have allowed Israel
Can you
to
just answer my question,
enact
please?
those plans.
Can you
Yes.
answer my question?
The US government might not directly say that they're doing it, but she would have allowed Israel to do it and supplied them with the means to do it.
Wait, so then why isn't
And
Israel just doing it right now under Trump?
I'm sorry, are you saying that there's not an ongoing genocide that Israel is committing?
No, that's not what I said at all. I do believe that Israel's ethnically cleansing Palestinians, and they have been for the last 3 years and historically in the last 100. But my question was:
Okay, sorry, because you asked me
Is
why
Israel?
isn't Israel doing that under Trump? And I'm
Yeah,
trying to
but
figure
the
out what are
specific
they
question.
not doing.
Yeah, the specific question that I asked you was going into the Gaza Strip, planning for a forceful relocation of all 2.1 million Palestinians on the Strip to Egypt and Jordan to build a Riviera.
Are you clear on like what Israel has been doing? Because basically occupying land is forceful relocation, which has been going on for years, hundreds of years. So I'm just trying to make sure that you
Okay.
understand.
Okay.
Yes, that is what
Obviously,
Israel is
there's no
doing.
way.
That's what they've been
Obviously,
doing.
there's no way I'm going to be able to convince you on this because you just don't value higher levels of harm caused to Palestinians, regardless of the presidency, and you do think that the levels of harms are identical. So my question to you is: if the levels of harm caused to the Palestinians would be identical under a Trump presidency compared to a Harris presidency, why wouldn't you then vote for Harris because she's better in other contexts?
Um, because I think that U.S. imperialism, and this is what I was trying to say before, U.S. imperialism under Harris would have functioned as effectively as it always has. This is the same problem that I had with Hillary. The Democratic war machine is much more subtle and much more effective. Essentially, it allows the U.S. to colonize
Well, I don't think that
and
you're. I don't think that
exploit
you're
other
listening. I don't think that
countries.
you're listening to my question because you said that both Trump and Harris were synonymously as bad for Palestine. So, given that Trump and Harris are just as bad for Palestine, then why did you vote for Trump when Harris would have been significantly better than Trump for every other issue?
Right. So I see what you're like, you're bringing the point back, but I actually am explaining to you what the other issues are, which is US imperialism at large.
Wait, so you think that Kamala Harris would have been worse for U.S. imperialism than Donald Trump?
Yeah, Trump
Wait,
is
really?
destroying.
What would Kamala Harris have done worse than like saying that that Trump may use the military to invade Greenland, use economic war to annex Canada and the Panama Canal, while also essentially giving half of Ukraine to Russia and being his puppet?
Okay, so when you say things like that, you start to dismantle and destroy like the machinations that allow US imperialism to function like smoothly and effectively, because US imperialism is about subtlety. It's about CIA backed coups. It's about the IMF. It's about like leverage and threats
So
so
can you
that
tell
you
me what
don't
Kamala Harris
actually
wanted to
go
do that
to a
was
physical
worse?
war.
Can you tell me what Kamala Harris wanted to do that was worse than any of the things that I just said were true of Trump?
Um, I think that Kamala Harris and Trump effectively would have been doing the same things. The only difference is that
Yeah.
Trump is really fucking bad at it.
Yeah.
And so
So then
he
once
is
it, so then
threatening
once
people with
again,
physical war.
once again, like I've already explained to you how that premise is false, but let's just assume that it's true because if Trump and Harris are just as bad for U.S.
You think
imperialism,
Trump is better at US imperialism than Kamala Harris would have been?
absolutely. Absolutely. Are
Okay.
you kidding me? Yeah, he said that he may use the military to invade and overtake Greenland, and he's using tariffs as a
And
form
you
of
think that's
economic
worse than
coercion to
sending the
annex
CIA?
Canada as a 51st state as well as the Panama Canal. Like what? All right. But under your worldview, you said that Kamala Harris and Trump had identical means to an end insofar as the expansion of the US through imperialism. So then why did you not vote for Kamala Harris because she was better in other contexts? So assuming that they're both just as bad at imperialism, okay, well then how about we just evaluate their domestic policy? Because Kamala Harris had good domestic policy plus US imperialism. Then Donald Trump had bad domestic policy plus US imperialism. Doesn't this still make Kamala Harris a better candidate out of the two? Unmute Jay. Guy probably hates the horseshoe theory. Oh, for sure. Oh, fucking for sure. I'll just give you like one example. Okay. So Kamala Harris is an imperialist, but Kamala Harris wants to end 66 million human rights violations that Donald Trump caused by overturning Roe v. Wade and rescinding the right to get an abortion back down to the state level. Donald Trump is an imperialist, but he wants to continue these 66 million human rights violations, and he wants to usher in economic policy which will serve to the detriment of anybody making under $400,000 per year. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris's economic policy would have uplifted the purchasing power of 100 million American workers in the low and the middle class. So all things considered, Kamala Harris was still yet the better candidate.
Okay, I'll put it like this. Do you think Iran Contra is a human rights violation?
Okay, so because you didn't respond to that, I'm going to go ahead and kick you. And we're going to go to move on to the next guest because I was trying to communicate that point to you for about the last 5 to 10 minutes. And because you're unable to respond to the point, we're just simply going to go ahead and move on.